coming up on The Source.
Literally, she had just walked in the house. If it was a few minutes later, my daughter could have been in the middle of that crossfire that was happening right there on Concord Ave in Washington.
But now, in $200 Jordans, we can't even walk to the local community center. We're killing ourselves.
And I guess people don't get it. Because you said that the numbers are down, it does not mean that it's safe.
I know I'm a target.
And if we can get you out, we can have a good council, some people feel.
Right, they can put it already, but the city just does not do it. The city will not do it. They don't do it, will not do it, have not.
Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
Sinead Darby.
And welcome to The Source. What another week, what another interesting moment. You know, Sister Shanae and to brother, let me just say, we just had last week heard and the chief had resigned and that everything was kind of peaches and cream going on the upswing. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, not from a local paper, not from a local radio station, we hear that there's shooting going on a playground right on the east side, I believe it was.
Yeah, no, it happened. And this is just after we had the report from our Wilmington Police Department that crime has gone down. It's safer in the city of Wilmington, and 2 teens were injured and shot, right? And I have a teenager. I don't feel comfortable with her walking to the PAL Center. I don't feel comfortable with her walking to any community center because of things like this. Right before, for me specifically, but right before COVID, my daughter was the bus stop she stands at, they were shooting at her bus stop, right? Literally, she had just walked in the house. If it was a few minutes later, my daughter could have been in the middle of that crossfire that was happening right there on Concord Ave in Washington. So for me, this is concerning. What does that report really say? What does it mean? What does this mean?
Yeah.
And just to give a little background, right? So this took place at the 1300 block of Cliff Brown Walk. Right. It took place at a park. A 16-year-old male, a 14-year-old female were both shot in their legs. They both transported to the hospital where they're in stable condition. Right. They're going to survive. But I think it really highlights the fact that incidents like this keep happening. Right. And why it's always good to have data. Data could be spin however you want it to be. At the end of the day, like I said last week, shootings were down, but we still had 83 of them, down from 118. That's not a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Right? And then we start the year off with 2 teens getting severely injured. Right?
It's a pandemic.
It's a pandemic that we're living in right now. And I do want to say that the councilwoman for the area, Xanthia Oliver, convened a group of advocates and faith leaders to talk about that, right? And to hold a press conference. And in this group, they're saying they just don't want to stop there, right? They want to work together strategically and put aside their differences with one another. We all know it in our community. Oh, I don't want to work with that person because we had an issue with one another 20 years ago, right? It's time to put that all aside.
Absolutely.
Because our youth are getting injured and killed. Our community is not safe for people to walk.
Right.
You know, it was one thing I heard. One of the speakers said that back in the day, African American slaves used to run over the Mason-Dixon line with no shoes on, travel from the south to the north. But now, in $200 Jordans, we can't even walk to the local community center. we're killing ourselves.
Yeah, and you know, it goes even deeper than that. Remember last week I shared that one of my parishioners here, a young brother, he's only
Mhm.
14, 13 or 14 years old. He was in the exact same playground just a week earlier. And then he went to get something to drink from a store, which is right there. And he was robbed at gunpoint.
Mhm.
Um, while why was it? See, this is where I don't believe data. Why wasn't it reported? A shot happened, two children were injured. We're trying to cover up and hide too much. Fox News in Philadelphia had to cover it. I think you said ABC
ABC.
as well. Why does, even though they are regional papers and news outlets, why didn't Delaware Online? And yes, I'm calling them out. Why didn't WDEL? Why wasn't it? They get those shooter, whatever you call those things. Why was not this called out? Or is it that the police department is just not reporting it? That's kind of, we're not safe in our community. One of the young men on the Fox News, when he was interviewed, he said, "I'm just not comfortable. I'm
Mhm.
just not safe." This is him talking to a national audience, well, a regional audience, and I guess people don't get it because you said that the numbers are down. It does not mean that it's safe. Because in 2 weeks we had two major issues, and both of them.
And it's really negating the experiences of everyday people who live here in the
Yes.
city of Wilmington. Like, to negate how I'm feeling and how I feel about my children being outside, about me being outside, about people being out in the community and being caught in this crossfire, and for two teens to get shot. And for me, I think it's a bigger conversation about media in Delaware.
Yeah.
A lot of times, most of the media here are outside people who come in to cover our city, our state, right? And then you have these outside people who come to cover our city, and they're not connected to the community.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trying to connect to the community. So they're covering from a space of something that's totally different, not understanding that community, which is problematic in a lot of ways. So we need to talk about how media in general, there's, you know, how many they could partner with DSU. They have a media program,
Mm-hmm.
right, to get more black and brown people, more woman. A lot of Wilmington kids or state kids go to DSU.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell me you can't find any at the DSU Mass Communications Program to join Delaware Online, to join WDL, all of these TV and radio stations and newspapers. That's a problem that we have to talk about.
Yeah.
So we're never going to be properly covered, or we're not going to be covered at all and ignore, because there might be some political things behind it, because they want to paint Wilmington as this safe city. You know, they're about to build Riverfront 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they need to make a quota on getting people to move here and feel comfortable here. And the best way to do that is to say a city is safe.
Yeah, but we cannot prevaricate and say that it's safe when it is not. And you said something that, you know, there may be something going on with the political arena and the paper and the media here. Well, that's not new. That's not
It's
foreign.
not.
But one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to the Delaware News Journal as well as to WDEL just to ask, so I can come back to this group who look at us faithfully every week and say this is why they didn't report it. Matter of fact, because
Oh,
that
I
will
can
help.
tell you why they didn't report it. They're short-staffed.
Mm.
They have one breaking news reporter for the entire state now. They have one education reporter for the whole entire state. Gannett has come in since they purchased the News Journal, and they have slashed a number of reporters. And
Wow.
Wilmington isn't a priority unless there's something major going on.
Wow.
It's sad what is happening because that's our source,
Wait a
right?
minute.
That's how we stay
You
involved.
just gave me a breaking news. You're saying that this new owner of the News Journal,
And they haven't just done it in Delaware, right?
right?
Gannett is a nationally uh, recognized owner of news outlets, right? They own US Today. So all those affiliates under US Today, right? They have done this almost everywhere they have acquired.
Mm.
They have cut the staff to a point where it is barely functional and people are struggling. And it has huge impacts
Yeah.
on what is going on in cities like Wilmington.
Right.
But I agree, but not just waiting until you're in college, right? Again, if we want to truly change the system of violence that's going on, we need to have creative writing courses at our local community centers,
Mm.
in our schools, early on to get to people who want to become reporters so that those individuals who want to go to a DSU for mass communications will not only go there, but they will thrive there.
Mhm.
And then after they graduate from there, they don't have to move places like Atlanta or New York to find a job.
Mhm.
That we'll have a market for that right here in the Philadelphia area or the Baltimore area, the two media markets we have here.
You know, Twin B, we don't give him a lot of credit, but I do say when I first got here, one of the things I was so impressed with him, Twin B Brown, is that he did try to give young people an opportunity to see what media is all about and get them interested in it. Some of them did go on to go to college and study to become a mass media majors. But we have to figure it out. And when I say we, I mean the community. I'm impressed with that there was a meeting and people decide, you know, we got to work together because our babies are dying. At some point, that's where we have to get. We have to get to a place where nobody's going to protect us from nothing but us. So we have to start working together. So I guess that's something that's good. But what I was just very concerned about is that it was not reported in the local news. And I'm just grateful to have both of y'all here because I get stuff from both, and I'm able to see that our hypothesis is correct. The news outlets here only report what they want to report. And if it's something's going to harm the black and brown people, they'll report it right away. But if something's going to mess with somebody's political agenda, then they'll hold it back, and that's just not good. Nah. Another thing I want to do is just bring a little good news to the table. And I know many by the time you have seen this broadcast or this show, that you will that brother Damar Hammond is now out of well, he's now back in Buffalo, and he's doing exceptionally well. I'm just grateful that so many people honestly prayed for him. So many people honestly helped and supported his causes, and he survived. You know, and that's the key, and that's what I'm very grateful for, that he survived. And you should see all of the. Well, let's just say you should see everybody's seeing all the love that was poured out to him. But mom and dad was right there by his side. I tell you.
What I love most about it is when he first woke up, he said, "Did we win?"
Ah,
And it was like he was so concerned.
what a
about
true
the,
jock.
What a he was so like, oh, he's an athlete. Like,
Yeah.
like he was so concerned about the game, but the response he got was, "You won the game of life."
Yeah.
Like that
very
was
powerful.
like deep. I was
Yeah.
like, yo, like I love that they
Yeah.
said that to him.
Yeah.
Like, don't like you won life right now. Like, do you know what probably don't know what just happened to him?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think he wrote it. I don't think he said it. I think he wrote it on the did we win?
No,
I don't know.
no,
He said it.
No, he said
He
it.
said
He
it.
said it. That was his first word.
Because they just said, you know, you're hearing that he said, did we win? Because that's what you know, that's his heart. You know,
Yeah.
and you can tell what a person's heart is in football. And but I'm glad also that he had the best people in the world caring for him. There was an article in the paper this week about a young 13-year-old, 14-year-old playing flag football.
Okay.
And she too had a heart attack, and she survived. But we got to really make sure that we're paying attention to our children and making sure that there's some preconditions in their lives that we really are treating it, because they don't know yet. They're saying no way. He was very healthy, and it could have been a precondition they never discovered.
Well, I said last week I talked about how one doctor speculated that it was because of the hit was in the middle of your heartbeat.
Right.
And for that, when your heart beats, it stops for a quick millisecond. And that just happened to be when he collided with Higgins. So that's what they believe is what happened. He was in outstanding health. They're tested pretty regularly. He got extremely lucky that the staff was able to perform CPR almost immediately to make sure that his heart kept going.
To the trained staff to be able to operate like that.
Because some staff would have just been looking at you for a while. Oh, he got knocked out, not knowing.
YouTube how to CPR.
Well, there's CPR certified, but that's not always the first thing that goes through your mind, right?
Yeah.
So you just saw a football player make a big hit, right? And then drop to the ground. You're thinking, oh, it's something in the head, right? For that medical professional individual to recognize within seconds that this isn't a brain injury, this is something to do with his heart, and I need to perform CPR is huge. Is huge. And then for the equipment staff to also be able to recognize he's doing CPR, we need to get his helmet off and to remove the mask the way they did so that they could do mouth to mouth if they needed to was critical in every second. In a situation like that, every second matters.
So true. But even looking like, I know it's a controversial topic, but football has been deemed a dangerous sport anyway. Like it's
yeah.
very violent. A lot of other countries don't have football.
Right.
Their football is soccer,
Especially not the way they
right?
play it. Yeah.
Not the like like their football
Well, that's
around the
Africa,
world.
Nigeria. That's very big there too.
Yeah,
Right.
it's big in the Caribbean country
Yes.
and Europe, outside of America,
Right.
football and soccer is that, but they don't do a lot of football how we do football. They're considered a very aggressive, violent sport.
And but you notice how he was talking soccer.
Yeah,
Because he's
soccer.
a football player, so
It's not real football. No, I'm joking.
but it's just as real as they come. But some
Yeah.
of the injuries. Looking at Corey Wire, who is a sports commentator for CNN. That's whose name I was trying to get last week. Who also was almost paralyzed and played the
Yeah.
exact same position that on the Bills that Hamlin played. He had a life-threatening injury as well. Many
Yep.
others. So it is because them bodies going against each other to that level is very, very powerful.
It is. And over the years things have changed, right? They have the equipment's different now. Even from when I played to now, the equipment's better to protect your body. The helmets are more shock resistance, right? So that your brain's not rattling around when you have these big hits. But also they're changing the fundamentals. Now, one of the things when I played football, which made me such a good defender,
Okay.
was I didn't care about the big hits, right? I could light someone up on the field, or I could get a good form tackle and take you down. If you were in my vicinity and I got my hands on you, you're going down, right? I cared more about that. So I used my skills that I learned through rugby, because in rugby you have no pads, right?
Absolutely.
So it's all about your form tackling, protecting your own body. I used the knowledge that I learned playing rugby, which is a global sport, right, to properly learn how to tackle in football. And it made me, one of the best nose guards in the state when I played here.
I
And
gotta Google that.
yeah, but now they're trying to teach a lot of defenders how to tackle the way you do in rugby.
Okay.
Because it's a safety mechanism there.
Okay, yeah, and I think one of the things that you're going to see, because they did not use him as an object, they used him as a human, and I was very grateful for that too.
Yeah.
He was literally not just marketed as, oh, he's down, let's get the game started again, but they're really looking at this whole sport a different way. I used to cry and say that they changed the rules so much because I was never a football player. I did more wrestling because Lincoln didn't have football at the time, but the rules have changed to try to keep things as safe as possible. That's American sport, and if they change it too much, it's going to create other problems for those who watch it. They like the hits, but when he went down, the level of humanity that was expressed is something that America should always be proud of. I mean, it wasn't just black people; it was white people. It wasn't just people who look at sports. There were people who don't look at sports, and I think that is just phenomenal. But I'm asking all the parents who have children, young brothers, and I don't know if any sisters in the sport yet, but please make sure that we watch the health of our children, because we don't want them to suffer an injury that's going to lame them for the rest of their lives.
Correct.
They're asking now, is he going to come back? That's how much he's recovering.
Yeah, I think, honestly, it's a little too early to have that conversation if he will be able to return to football just yet, because it's such the high toll it has on your body. And at the end of the day, he did just have a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot for him to get back in that shape. If anything, I'm not a medical professional. I think he won't be back next season either. He's going to need that season to kind of recondition his body and get back to that point. But that 2024, 2025 season, he will be back.
But
And
would you not be afraid?
oh, absolutely, I would be. And that's another thing that he's going to have to overcome,
Okay.
right? That's what they don't talk about. Coming back from an injury is both the physical injury on your
It's
body and the
mental.
toll, but it's also that mental, especially if you have a broken leg, torn ACL, or whatsoever. It's always that mental aspect of coming back, and you always play a little different. That's why Derrick Rose hasn't played the same, right? He wants to be at that level. We've seen sparks, but he has limitations on your body. So when you know what you can do versus what your body is allowing you to do now, that creates even more frustration, which leads to a lot of athletes failing once they do come back. And very few who can overcome that and have great comeback seasons.
Yeah. Well, I just hope and trust that we continue to keep the same level of humanity as we move forward, and we allow the doctors, we allow all the sports professionals to do what they do. But hats off to Brother Hamlin, who has come back, rebound, and we are very, very grateful for that. The last thing I want to share in this segment, because it's like we're going up and down. The first one was dealing with one thing as another, is that, and I want to more or less talk to you, Sister Darby, because we said we're going to be transparent with
Yeah.
who would be running for office, not running, but who will be applying for the position of first district council. And I'm going to ask our the back folks to please put up these names as we put them, as I state them. But the way it looks now, it closed on 4 candidates.
Yep, closed on 4 candidates. Yep.
Okay, and one of them, the first one we have is Justin Wright,
Yep, Justin Wright.
Kobe Owens, Harold Gray, and Vincent White.
Yes.
Now, before we understand that Kobe is on our show, so we are not going to even put him involved in this conversation.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that we are always being straightforward on what we have to say. But once again, not being able to know who's voting for who. Once again, looking at these names, it looks like an agenda is truly in the workings.
Yeah, so I thought way more people were going to apply. Like the first district in the city is well full of political community leaders, right? It's one of the most people vote there the most in the whole state, right? So I thought it would be way more first, right? So seeing these 4 names, of course, Kobe's on here. Justin, he lives in the first district. Harold Gray, which I thought was like, wow, like his wife passed away. Now he wants to apply so that he's the husband. And then Vincent White, I think he applies each time too for open council seats. So I'm just really shocked by the number more than who actually.
But you know what I think, and I heard you, and I was fighting with myself when you just said what you said. Should you say that, Curry, or not? You know what some people feeling, and I hope people run. But they're feeling, look, these folks gonna do what they're gonna do. They already went and had their private meetings with one of these 4 people. They done had the meeting. We gonna support you. Chill.
Yeah.
So some people don't want to deal with the nonsense of even embarrassing themselves to get on a list. But what I hope is when election time comes, for all of those who really, maybe there are people on this list who really feel that they want to be a council person and do well and have not been a part of the private meetings.
Yeah.
I hope they run. And I hope the best candidate wins for that district.
No, I agree. And it's definitely from what I'm hearing in conversations that there is a likely pick that people are leaning towards already on before the 4 names were even submitted. Right. So those are conversations that are constantly happening amongst council people and amongst people who are in that realm or in the staff. So listen, like you said, they're gonna do what they're gonna want to do. And I just like 2024, man, run for office. Like,
Yes.
run for office.
But you're absolutely right. The first district is one of the largest voting districts, and have some of the strongest political people too.
Yes, they do.
But hear my words. They know what's happening. They know that if they go in right now, they're gonna have to be toot the horn of certain people. So I'm not saying we don't know who's gonna get it, but what I am gonna say is this is interesting.
Yes.
And we will report out, and we have the same, will we have, or do you know, whether or not there'll be the same process of we don't want nobody to know who's voting for who. We're just going to put our names, the names in a hat and call them out loud. Is that the same process?
So I think it's going to remain the same process. So initially, we're supposed to have everyone interviewed, and then we assign them a number. So we never address you. We say, oh, number 1, number 2, number 3, right? And then we're supposed to submit up to 3 names to the council president. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, but at least 3 people. I don't know what it just being 4 if we're going to go with 3 still, but at least 3 people who you would like to have that seat and appoint there. And then from there, you're supposed to announce who your selection is. Supposed to be a public announcement to the council president. However, a lot of council people felt uncomfortable with doing that. law said we could potentially run into some legal issues if we don't do that, if we don't publicly in the meeting state who we want to vote for. But council people still decided as a majority to go against that. And what they did is write on a piece of paper who their vote was and gave it to the president instead of stating who they wanted.
And that's just in case there's somebody FOIAing and they want to know who.
Yeah, if somebody FOIAs it, you can FOIA it and challenge the process of any council.
And that's what I think what they realize, some of the city council people, is that because the ones who are in power on the council, who runs everything, they probably feel that that nobody's going to challenge it.
I was about to say they know
Yeah.
most people are not paying
Yeah.
attention. Most people
Yeah.
are not going to challenge it, so then they're going to do what they want when they know people aren't going to do it.
Right. And I think that's so sad. But it's only 2 years, 1.5 years left on this rodeo,
Yeah.
and we hope that when the time for election to come up, that the appropriate people run and win. I ask that you stay strong in your district, please, because you're a target.
Oh no, I know I'm a
And if we
target.
can get you out, we can have a good council, some people feel, but you stay resolute and let them be who they are. But you know what I think? I think if the people voted you in, not you only, but all of the council persons, they owe us transparency.
Yeah.
I was gonna let it go, but I'm not gonna let it go. You vote people in, you expect them to act out of their integrity, not to want their name.
Yeah, and I also want to just even say in 2020, some people didn't even have real candidates run against them. They didn't have,
Yeah.
or none of them. So some people, there's no one to vote for. So that person just end up winning.
Well, but it's time. Maybe we said last week, we're gonna start making sure we got to find people.
We got to find people to run.
We got to find people, and we got to help them find the money to get to that place.
I agree.
Because that will stop a lot of this shenanigans that are going on.
I agree.
Well, I'm gonna leave it right there. Thank you, Kobe, for the first time being very quiet. We bring you in, but we ask that you please not comment on it, and you did a very good job. We'll be right back.
Also, young people fearing for their safety as they live through an epidemic of violence here. Tonight, they're calling on friends, strangers, and leaders to do something to keep their neighborhoods safe. Here's our Shawnette Wilson.
A powerful demonstration in Wilmington by children pleading with help dealing with the violence they live with every single day.
I'm tired of having to walk somewhere and then stay on my guard.
I am proud to be black. Why kill us? You are killing me!
The voices of young people and the sad reality that gun violence has them living in fear.
You must hear me! You must hear the pain, the cries!
This evening, they let the community know about the violence they experience daily, holding signs detailing the trauma it causes.
I can't even walk to school. Sometimes I feel scared.
14-year-old Justin Dye is part of the Stop the Violence Prayer Chain Foundation, which helps young people dealing with the loss of someone to gun or domestic violence.
It's not fair to everybody who lives here, especially if you're used to it, because you're not supposed to be used to it at all.
The foundation organized the Children's Peace Rally at Rodney Square in downtown Wilmington.
A couple of days ago, I was at, I think, Kirkwood Park, and gunshots went off, and I had to run all the way home back home. And then a couple hours later, there was a body found by the park.
Adults and organizations that help the youth came out to listen, many of them affected by gun violence too.
My grandson was killed in 2015, shot 15 times. So I know the pain you have.
I had one grandchild that was killed in 2017. 4 months later, my son was shot.
Margaret Guy organized the rally. She says the violence is heartbreaking and points to the two children, 6 and 7 years old, shot in a drive-by shooting after a celebration July 4th weekend here in Wilmington.
Don't wait till it hits home to want to get involved. We all need to be involved in helping these children.
For more information on the Stop the Violence Prayer Chain Foundation and how it can help your child, go to fox29.com. In Newcastle, Shawnette Wilson, Fox 29.
Dad, let's talk about tackle football. I just learned about CTE, the brain disease caused by repeated hits to the head. The more years I play, the more I'm at risk. If you put me in tackle today...
By the time I'm a senior in high school, I'll have played 13 years of tackle football. I could already have CTE, and it will continue to destroy my brain even after I stop playing. So by the time I'm your age,
I could be fighting depression, struggling to keep my thoughts straight. I can become violent, even towards my own children. When I'm your age, what will matter to me is not my youth football career, but that, like you, I'm a great parent and I can provide for my family.
So please, keep me out of tackle football until I'm 14.
And we're back. We have a lot of fun on this show, and it's interesting what happens when we go to commercial break. We did not know that Sister Darby, who she fact checks everybody, so we can't even say nothing wrong on this show. Kobe was sharing how he was one of the best in the state, ranked number 2, and she just could not believe that Kobe, who now don't have the knees he used to have, it was really that. So she Googled, hey, can we have your results, please?
Yes, it's true. He was number 2 in the state. I think he ranked nationally too, so he was in there. He ranked. Sometimes Kobe, I don't know. So I had to check.
Listen, that's when my knees were good and I was in better shape.
And let me tell you, I thank you for checking,
Yes.
and I thank you for the fact check. But for those of you watching, especially for those who do not like Kobe, just know that he's a good brother and he got it together. Now she didn't do it because she don't like him. She just wanted to know that he was giving out too much strong information. So I'm be careful.
Confident about it
right.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check. People be living in their high school glory still 10 years later.
Yeah.
It is my 10-year anniversary.
But what he did say is when he had good knees, now he can't even run. So pray for him. But let's.
I can still run now. We had a race, and I
who's we?
We did. We were in the race
for the youth.
Okay.
The youth. What was it called? The City Olympics.
Has track meets in the summertime.
Okay.
So for the final, for the championship, it was a city council race, and Kobe ran in it.
Oh.
And, I came in second though.
I came in third. I was right behind her.
Oh my God!
We'll find a footage
I'm
somewhere.
trying to think who's all on city council to see this.
We'll find a footage.
Listen, so I asked all the city council, every one of them, and it just either they got bad knees, all different types of issues.
My daughter put me in one of those races, and you know what I decided? I'm gonna be in it. I'm just gonna walk it. I ran a little bit, and then I walked the rest of it. But you mean to tell me you were first? You're second.
I was second.
Who was first?
One of our staff members, her name is Marsha.
Oh, okay.
Her daughter won. She like 17.
Okay.
Yes,
she's
young.
young.
She don't count.
She just had the experience on her
knees
knees
too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well. I'm glad to hear that you still got it, Kobe. I'm glad you're still participating with City Council. Real quick, not real quick. Let's turn our attention to Kobe's Corner because we always got some good stuff going on. And last week you made history because we've not had any breaking news on the show, and people were calling me saying, "What are y'all trying to be seeing?" And you got that darn that came on. But let's hear what's going on with the Kobe Corner.
Yeah. So it took a while.
Yeah.
Took 4 days, but we finally have a Speaker of the House in the U.S. House. It took 14 failed votes.
Yeah.
On the 15th vote, they were able to get it done a little after midnight on Sunday. What was very interesting was what deals were cut.
Yeah.
So as of right now, how it stands, and they just passed their package, they're rescinding. Well, they voted to rescind millions of dollars that went to the IRS so that they could hire more investigators. They changed the rules so that one member of Congress instead of 5 can call for a new speaker, and they would have to take a vote on the speaker. They pretty much gutted the House Ethics Committee, pretty much stripped their funding away, and that one's very interesting because a reporter was able to catch up with Santos and ask him what he thought of it. He said, "I think it's fantastic."
Yeah.
Of course he would.
Right.
But then also some of the other things that have changed under the Judiciary Committee, they are creating a new committee on the weaponization of the government. And they're going to investigate the Biden administration departments on their to see what they have been truly doing with the ARPA money. And then also they're going to investigate former FBI agents who were investigating President Donald Trump when Trump was in office and his organizations and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see how that all went down, how it all played out. But at the end, the vote count came down to 216 needed to become speaker because 6 members of the Republican House, instead of voting for someone else, they voted present. after hours and hours of debate. Wesley Hunt, whose wife had a baby, and there was complications, had flew to Texas, and then they flew him back a few hours later. And then also David Trone, Democrat, the day that they started voting, he had a 7 a.m. surgery. He was back because they were still voting for speaker. He was back around noon, 1 o'clock, and he was able to participate as well too. So everyone was pretty much hands on deck until that vote got done.
Yeah, let me just ask a question. You go say something?
No, I'm gonna say I just think it's gonna be an interesting 2 years. I look forward to watching how, because I think he like conformed to a lot of like very conservative exchange. I don't do a lot of national stuff, but like I've been watching it on social media. So like a lot of extreme conservative like that, and he can be voted out with one single person, or they can be called to vote him out. And I thought that kind of weakened his position and what he can truly say or do.
That's right. Because
As a rep, as a leader, they're gonna do that all the time.
Yeah.
And then when it's time for the October spending, I probably won't go to drill for a few months fooling with them, because I remember one time they were dead set on like voting on something and would not pass the
And that's
budget.
the thing. So
And then I can't go to drill, get my money.
September 30th, September 30th is the deadline to pass a new budget. And these hardliners are going to go heavy. They also want money cut from the military overall, which is very interesting.
Trump wasn't even care about that.
Right. And they also want our foreign spending cut as well too. So our aid packages that we give to other countries. But when you look at it, most of our aid package fits. We spend more on Valentine's Day as a nation, right, than we give out in our foreign aid package. So it's very interesting to see their priorities and what they were fighting for.
I'm shocked about the military thing. Republicans are really big on like
So
nationalism.
there's still a lot of, I call them war hawks, right? So those are the hardliner, and there's some in the Democratic caucus as well too, but mainly in the Republican, who are, we back the military no matter what, right? They need more funding. We need to be protected.
Right.
Those guys who are still down there, those members, I won't say guys, they're not going to sit back easy. And guess what? It's more than sit to them as well too. So if McCarthy tries to cut a deal to appease to the sits that opposed him, he's going to lose those other 6 votes. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes and how long we go without a funded government. Because I am predicting that we will have a shutdown under.
Well, it's going to be interesting, because then what the people said is, can we trust the Republicans to govern? And they gave them a slim majority, but it's going to just work.
My money impacted.
Okay, well, you keep too much of your money. Let me ask a couple questions, and then we're going to move on with you. With gutting these committees and all these rules, every Congress vote on their own rules. Just wanted to make sure. So all the things they're doing, it won't have to affect the Democrats when the Democrats take the House again. So it's just for their Congress. All right, and the second one, this Santos guy,
Santos.
Yeah. Now, there's no more. I haven't heard anything. Is they gonna let him stay?
So he's been seated. He's been sworn in. The House Republican chair, who's also from New York, said that it's nothing she can do about it. He was the Republican nominee. And he was the duly elected member of Congress. So they sat him, and he will be assigned a committee. Now, committee assignments haven't come out for all the members. Some members know what committees they're going to be on. They're still trying to figure out where other newer members are going to be at as well too, as they shuffle around. So it's going to be it's going to be real interesting to see where this is all going to go over the next. I'll give it about 3 weeks. We'll start understanding who's going to be on what committee, and where he's going to be at.
Do you think they're going to impeach Biden?
Absolutely.
I don't think they have enough votes to do that.
Absolutely. They need 218.
No, they need 218. But I don't think every Republican will go with that.
No, not every Republican will go with it. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to fear that Trump is going to be on the ballot. They saw what happened when pretty much only 2 of those 10 people who voted to impeach Trump from the Republican caucus are still there. I feel as though you will have a few of them who, if Trump wasn't around anymore, who would say, no, absolutely not. I'm not voting to impeach Biden because he really hasn't done anything to warrant that, right?
That's what I was going to say.
It's partisan politics.
They don't have to.
It's retaliation, right? you impeached our guy, we're going to impeach your guy, right? Which is childish when you're thinking about the U.S. House. These are the people who set the tax codes.
Right.
These are people who tell me how much I got to give the government, right? Which, it can stop. But it's crazy how childish and partisan, hyper partisan it has become.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, I do want to talk about another program. So the Biden administration, they got hit back very hard on the debt relief, right? Student loan debt relief. And it's still in the courts. So why they're doing that, the Biden administration has unveiled a very ambitious new student loan repayment program that is more generous, more flexible, and more forgiving than previous plans. But it's kind of unclear how they're going to be able to fully implement it, why the lawsuit's still going on about the legality of debt relief. So the Department of Education says that the proposed updates to its income-driven repayment plan would, among other, cut loan payments in half for undergrad borrowers. That is huge. And also it will stop, people missing their late fees or missing their payments, and then it calls in late fees as well too. So that is going to be huge. And the rollout could be complicated by the fact that the Office of Federal Student Aid, the agency that oversees the government student loan portfolio, is in a funding crisis, right? With this political fight that's going to happen come September 30th. And how that's all going to play out as well too. So that's just where we're at in that realm right now. Hopefully they're able to get this done to really help the people who need this help. If we're not going to get debt relief fully, cutting student loan payments in half is the next best option.
Okay, well, we're gonna see.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say because I'm still paying back my debts, and I'll be glad when that relief hit.
Yeah. And then the last point. On Tuesday, the new General Assembly has been sworn in. And the 152nd General Assembly has started. Now, over these next few weeks, you're going to see a lot of bills being pre-filed. Bills that impact our housing here. The state Senate has already taken the lens of we need to address affordable housing and create more of it during this session. You've seen the fact that in the state house, the housing committee now oversees all housing. So they've kind of combined the housing, which was kind of urban housing, right, and the manufacturer housing committees together, right? So hopefully that means that during this session, we're going to see more affordable housing legislation come up and come forth, and they push the state to kind of get that done. When you look at it, we're close to 19,000 units in the hole when it comes to affordable houses in the state. The backlog is just so long. You need more development going, right? Which is, very interesting for me to say.
Right.
But I say it a lot, right? Development is good. It's for the growth of any city, town, state. You need development, but you need development that applies to the people who are currently there, right? So you look at the safe and affordable houses that were needed. You look at our housing stock right now and the quality of life issues that we're facing, right? You have a lot of people who own their house right now, those seniors who want to stay in place, who are already facing issues because they don't have a hot water heater. They don't have, they can't keep up with the prices for oil or gas to warm their house. So that leads to pipes being busted, which leads to black mold or leads to holes in their houses, places like that, right? The weather has become more extreme, right? So your porches are damaged, your stairs are damaged, your roof are damaged. These are additional costs that are now added on and causing more of a burden on people, which also lead to people saying, I'm giving it up. I'm going to sell my house and I'm done. I'm going to rent. I'm going to do something else so I don't have to deal with that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this new General Assembly looks to do. There are bills
now. They're
Yeah.
really good.
Some of the bills, HB 37, introduced by Sherry Dorsey Walker, is one of those bills, right? But there's so many more that's going to be coming out.
What is that bill about?
So that bill is a housing-based bill, and it's kind of a mediation to try to keep people in their houses when they're going through the eviction process. So it's a lot that goes into it, but there's also another bill that's going to be coming out, which is the tenants' right to counsel bill, which is working with the legality behind things, of the fact that 80% of individuals who go into eviction court, it's like 83%, go in without legal representation. Whereas that number is almost identical, but flipped for how many landlords who go into court, they have an attorney with them. So usually what is happening is people are getting into legal situations and they have no legal representation, so they fail.
One thing with that with landlords, it's not even that they have attorneys. When you have an LLC,
Yeah.
you're able to, I forgot what it's called because I did it when I went to court. You can fill out a form and state that you can have someone else or yourself represent you. You don't have to have an attorney. So a lot of them are using that loophole too, and I had to use it in my situation. And then another thing with Sherry Dorsey Walker, state rep, her that was really cool, or that I loved, is the escrow part of it. So for me, the city of Wilmington already on our housing code, we have an escrow account that exists. It exists, like it's an account set up for if a renter needs to get their repairs done, their landlord isn't doing it, they can put their money, send their money to the city. There's $1,200 a month. I'm not paying it to you until you fix my heat. Right? They can put it already, but the city just does not do it. The city will not do it. They don't do it, will not do it, have not done it. It's been on the books for a long time.
So why won't they do it?
I asked, could they say capacity? They argue all of those things.
But if it's on the books, does books mean on the law?
Yeah, they're law already. Like mayor, I mean not mayor, but she's running for mayor, but treasurer, she was a treasurer for city council before, or the city of Wilmington. Velda Potter fought for that too, and they were trying to close the account, and she said, no, we're not closing this account, right? So you have people who are fighting for it, but they're just not doing anything with it. It's really for the administration to make sure that it's implemented, and then it takes it a step further in the code. Once the after a certain period of time, if the landlord doesn't fix it, the city can get a contractor to go fix it with the money that's been in the escrow. That's a game changer. And basically, this is what she's trying to do on the state level. But what I'm learning is you can have any law in the book.
Yeah.
It's the enforcement.
It's enforcement.
No.
And the city of Wilmington has an enforcement problem.
Now, let me ask you this question. I don't know the answer. And if we don't know, we need to find out. Nobody around the table. Why can't there be a city council person who sues the city to do that?
I asked about suing the city for it already.
And what happened?
Someone told me I need to pay attention to words. So it says the city of Wilmington has a escrow account. It doesn't say shall, like must. So they can legally say, I don't have the capacity.
Oh, this is ridiculous. Now, so they'll do that to a black community because that's who really would need it. But even if they don't, then why don't we? Well, I guess you ain't got the votes to change it to shall.
I'm actually trying to do that. I don't have the votes, but I want to make a point.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they'll vote yes, but it's just gonna look bad. Like
Yeah.
you didn't say yes to add in, like they said
Matter
no
of
to
fact-
my water bill stuff. Like that looks bad. Like you're gonna say no to not cutting off water for old people.
Yeah.
Like, well, elderly. Sorry.
Easy.
Season.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be there one day too.
Yeah.
So
Tomorrow.
But yeah, no, not tomorrow, But definitely like that is just it.
I just feel so bad because we have stuff on the book, and when they get called in and called out on it, they'll use semantics, and they'll say things like should.
Yep, that's what they do. Yep.
But you know what? That's monarchy.
Well, that's why I think we need a statewide program. That's why HB 37 is so important.
Well, will there be a shell in hers?
So they're still working out everything. But once the state sets it up and implements it, you'll be able to pay the state and go through that entity to hold your landlord accountable.
So the bill is already online. So when you go to what's the website?
Delaware General Assembly.
If you go to Delaware General Assembly, you can see the list of all the bills that's being filed, and when you click on it, you can pull up the text of the bill and you can read through it. So I'm gonna see if it says shall or not, but those are important. Like words are important
Yes.
to in the legal world, and that's what I had reached out to a lawyer, and that's what he told me. He was like, "No, you could do it for a point, but it's not gonna win."
So, but then the question becomes: can a city council person, but with the right lawyer, we could talk about the intent of the administration. The intent is not to enforce it, even though you could enforce it. So therefore, it's bringing hardship to our people. There are ways we have civil rights attorneys who can certainly share how their intent
In
is that.
Delaware?
Well, we got a couple. Emeka is in Delaware.
Yeah, in Mecca, that's what I said. We got like two.
That's my buddy. And
We got like two.
right, but the problem is we run short on finances, and that's where we run astray. But at some point, the city gonna have to answer. This administration will have to answer to several things, because that type of bill where you got people who got black mold, who got bad things going on in their houses, matter of fact, Ethan Adams, matter of fact, I put on my sheet to say something about it in our next segment. But they were treated so unfairly, and some of them had legitimate concerns before the city came in, and now they're left in a hotel on somebody's couch or whatever else. Just not fair.
Yeah, it's not
Just
fair.
not fair.
Enforcement is an issue in the city, and we have to do something about it.
Well,
But some
and
great bills happen.
it doesn't matter who's the mayor, or we need to figure out how we can get some enforcement done, other than when I'm parked illegal.
Yeah, no, so true. And I reached out to a city called Lancaster, PA.
Uh-huh.
They're a city about 65,000 people, similar city. They're able to do exactly the escrows counts. They're able to have
But
inspections
look at what
happen.
you just said. You said Lancaster. Lancaster is about a 80% Caucasian city. And I know Lancaster. That's where we used to go shop when
Right.
I used to shop at the outlets. And sure, they're going to do it because it's affecting them.
Yeah,
But
they're
it's only
doing it.
affecting black folks here, so that why do it?
Yeah. No,
Why
I
do
agree.
it?
But what I'm saying is they always complain about, oh, you're using Philadelphia, you're
Okay.
using Chicago, right?
Okay.
No, Lancaster, a city of
Yes.
similar size,
Yes.
same size LNI, they're able to do it. So you can't say you can't do it when another city of similar size is doing it.
And similar in economic income too.
Economic income
So
similar.
you that was a very good comparison.
Yeah, so that's the comparison. I'm so glad I found them. Now they can't say nothing to me now.
But you know that Temple education really works.
You know, I did something.
It really works in the North Philadelphia section of the city. Anything else on your agenda for today?
That's all I have for today.
All right, we'll be right back.
Tuesday evening, Chief Campos, along with Inspectors Hall and Bowers, received their new badges during a promotional and pinning ceremony in front of family and friends. Chief Campos becomes the 33rd police chief in the city's history and the first person of Hispanic descent to be appointed to this position.
In the course of the past several days, I've been overwhelmed by the outpouring of support that I've received throughout the community. It's been a crazy week and a half. I know a lot of you have reached out and texted me, and if I haven't gotten back to you, I apologize. But it's I still have a job to do, and that's what Chief or Mayor Pasicki hired me for. So that comes first. And this is where I start drifting. Apologize.
Details today of a new plan that could help those who have federal student loans. Neil Fisher has the latest on that proposal and what it may mean for borrowers.
On Tuesday, the federal government cast out a proposed student loan safety net. U.S. Education Department Secretary Miguel Cardona said student debt has become, quote, a dream killer, adding that these proposed regulations will cut monthly payments for undergraduate borrowers in half and create faster pathways to forgiveness so borrowers can better manage repayment, avoid delinquency and default, and focus on building brighter futures for themselves and their families. So here's the plan. Payments for undergraduate loans would be capped at 5% of the borrower's pay, lowering monthly payments. The proposal would also erase all debt after 10 years for those who needed $12,000 or less, and add a year for every additional $1,000 borrowed. It also promises that unpaid interest will not be added to the loan balance, as long as the borrower makes their monthly payments. The Education Department hoping this student loan safety net will prevent borrowers from getting overloaded with debt. This while President Biden's one-time debt cancellation faces an uncertain fate in the Supreme Court. Reporting for 3 News, I'm Neil Fisher.
And we're back. Real quick, I just wanted to make sure that those who watch us every week know that we are doing follow-up on things that we promised and we would do. And we're not forgetting about those on Adams Street. That was a very major a moment in our broadcasting to see what happened to them, how they were treated so horribly and then left out there. But are there any updates that y'all have on Adams Street?
There hasn't really been any updates recently that I know of. I do still talk to a lot of the residents who were living there. Some of them have been placed other places. A lot of them have been placed out in like Newark area, but they have found proper housing now.
Did they fix the issue with the city council paying for the storage?
That I don't know. It's set to expire in February.
Do you know?
They haven't mentioned it.
Okay. Because I'm paying attention to all that stuff. Is there any updates that you're aware of?
Not any updates that I'm aware of. I know I'm supposed to be connecting with a few of the residents, so once I connect, I could be able to give a more thorough update and then see what I could do as a community person and then as a council person. So
Yeah, and also I've driven by several times to see that the owner has trucks out there taking everything out, and I guess he got it fenced off now, and I guess he's fixing the things that L&I asked them to fix, and we hope that it all turns out well. Well, I really want to take this opportunity to thank both of you for co-hosting with me every week after week, sharing your knowledge and your wealth, even though you like everything that's going to pay, because she's worried about her government check that the Republicans may not be letting her get in October. But I thank y'all so much for always being here to help share with this community. Is there anything else on your desk, Brother Kobe?
I have nothing else to talk about.
You have nothing else to talk about. You got anything else on your desk?
go, man.
Well, let me just say to all of you, it is a joy and a privilege to come every week. I thank you for all of your comments, even the naysayers. We thank you, because at the end of the day, we do this because of our love for community. At the end of the day, when everything else is messed up, we'll have each other. So I say to you again, thanks so very much. Have a good day.
Take care, y'all.
See y'all soon.